Has Colin Farrell ever been in a good movie? I mean, I've seen him in bad movies. I've seen him in watchable movies like this one right here. Comment down below if he's ever really been in a good movie, because I really want to see those movies. Alexander. So Alexander was directed by Oliver Stone back in 2004, and it stars Colin Farrell as the hero Alexander the Great himself. Now, when I'm expecting from a historical film or historical TV shows about certain famous people in the past, I want to see the trials they had to go through. I want to see the things that they did. I want to see what put their mark into history. And for Alexander the Great, the reason why we've known him for thousands of years is because he was a man that had no losses. He was a man that conquered the known world at the time. But his most famous thing that he ever did was conquer the Persian Empire, the thing that the Greeks have been trying to do for who knows how long. He did it in just a matter of a couple of years. And for the most part, this movie does kind of show that, well, maybe not the way I wanted to. I mean, the movie starts off with Alexander the Great really young, and then you see him grow up to a teenager, even though he looks 35. And then the narrator comes on and he says, so Alexander's father died, and then he made his conquest all the way through Turkey. And I'm thinking, okay, are we moving to the Battle of Issus? Nope, skips over that, skips over the Siege of Tyre, whatever it is. He becomes Pharaoh of Egypt, and then it leads all the way to the Battle of Gaugamela, which I was excited to see on the big screen because that's one of the most famous battles to ever happen in history. But they basically scrunched down most of Alexander's historical victories in less than 30 seconds. So in other words, the writing is a problem in this movie, and the narration is abysmal. I'm sorry, Anthony Hopkins, but the movie would have been a whole lot better had you not been in it. Seriously, if they would have cut out that narrator entirely, I think this movie would have been a little bit more watchable. Another thing I really did not really get connected to this movie so much was Alexander's connection with his mother. I mean, we all have mother problems and whatnot, and since she was a queen that was abused, she was a queen that went through a whole lot and expects a lot from her child. That's what a lot of mothers have. But there is a point where I'm thinking, dude, you're creeping me out right now. If I wanted to see a character in an over 2-hour-long movie so obsessed with his mother, I would go back and watch the Joss Whedon Justice League movie. I'm not kidding you. And for Colin Farrell in this movie, I'm going to say he did okay. For what he was given, he was fine. He was definitely fine. I could actually buy him to be Alexander the Great, a person that is a very heavily strategic person, but also has a lot of problems. But when I'm thinking of Alexander the Great, I think about this. I want to see the victories that he has gotten. I want to see the madness that ensues upon it. If all of that is a little bit too long, then just show me him conquering the Persian Empire, because as it turns out, I wanted to see this. The Persians have always been known to be somewhat barbarians at the time, but they also had a lot of gold and whatnot. But with Alexander's conquest to take the Persian Empire, you would notice that a lot of states in the Persian Empire are not exactly 100% loyal to the emperor himself. And I wanted to see that, but they skipped that entirely, so I'm thinking to myself, then what's the point? I mean, you're literally cutting his whole conquest in half and then just moving on from there. I wanted to see the start of his conquest to the point where it becomes a madness to him, to a point where he becomes obsessed with it. That's what I wanted to see. But if you're just going to cut half of it out, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so are you telling me I need to pause it right now, read a history book to the point where I'm finally caught up? Because seriously, that is really annoying. So I'm going to say that the movie is okay. There are scenes that I did like. The Battle of Gaugamela was awesome. Hands down, this is exactly what I wanted to see out of an Alexander movie. So props to that, for sure. And another thing that I absolutely enjoyed out of this movie, it was the soundtrack. Soundtrack, mwah, brilliant. I loved it. So this movie is okay. It's not exactly my favorite historical movie, but it goes above a lot, actually. It really does. So I gotta say, this movie is definitely worth watching and definitely worth buying on DVD. Man, I gotta change my rating scores and everything. But either way, guys, Alexander, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.